The basketball world went completely silent when LeBron James suddenly lost his cool on live ESPN and confronted Shaquille O'Neal right in front of everybody watching. But the wild part, that was only the beginning. The drama exploded backstage too, exposing years of tension that had clearly been building behind closed doors. Then rumors started flying about leaked audio the network supposedly did not want getting out. Picture the scene for a second. Live ESPN coverage during the 2025-26 NBA season, bright lights everywhere, millions glued to their screens, and LeBron James, one of the most media-trained athletes ever, finally snapping in a way nobody expected. For more than 20 years, LeBron carefully controlled his image, stayed calculated, and avoided public blow-ups. This time was different, and everybody could feel it instantly. Inside, the NBA had officially moved over to selected ABC and ESPN broadcasts after its legendary TNT run from 1989 through 2025. Starting with the 2025-26 season, the famous studio crew suddenly had an even bigger spotlight. That gave Shaquille O'Neal a louder microphone than ever before, and Shaq was clearly not holding back when it came to LeBron. Shaq had already been throwing heavy shots during TV appearances, but things really got messy on his podcast. That is where he fully unloaded on LeBron and modern NBA stars. Shaq's biggest complaint was simple. He believed today's NBA had become way too soft, and because of that, LeBron's dominance looked bigger than it really was. For a competitor like LeBron, hearing that publicly was enough to spark serious tension immediately. But Shaq kept going even harder. He said, "I don't see that all the time over here. You want me to give these MFers the same props you're giving them? That'll never happen. You can call it hate if you want." Those comments instantly spread everywhere online. Fans argued nonstop, sports shows replayed the clips, and social media completely exploded with debates about whether Shaq was speaking facts or just throwing disrespect. LeBron has heard every opinion possible during his career. People have praised him like a legend, criticized him like a villain, and analyzed every single move he makes on and off the court. By the 2026 NBA All-Star break, LeBron had stacked up an unbelievable 42,975 career points, putting him firmly at the top of the NBA scoring list. Ever since passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar back in 2023, he has officially stood alone as the league's all-time leading scorer. 4 championships, 23 seasons, endless pressure, endless expectations. Yet despite all that, Shaquille O'Neal, somebody who once shared the same locker room with LeBron in Cleveland, was still openly questioning his greatness on national television and on his own podcast. That made the situation feel way more personal than regular sports talk. Shaq also defended himself and Charles Barkley after critics accused them of constantly trashing today's NBA product. Even Lakers head coach J.J. Redick reportedly pushed back against the nonstop criticism coming from old-school analysts. Shaq responded by saying, "You know, people say Charles and I are ruining the game because of the way we're talking about the product. Well, the product set." The comment instantly created another firestorm online before he even finished the sentence. When those remarks got back to LeBron, everything reportedly changed fast, and people around the league knew this was not happening in isolation. LeBron had already been frustrated with several ESPN personalities before this situation even happened. Earlier in 2025, his heated courtside confrontation with ESPN star Stephen A. Smith had already made massive headlines after comments involving LeBron's oldest son, Lakers guard Bronny James. That moment shocked fans because LeBron rarely confronts media figures face-to-face like that. That earlier situation seemed to set the tone for everything that followed. It showed people that LeBron was no longer staying silent when he felt somebody cross the line. So when Shaq kept firing public shots over and over again, many insiders felt it was only a matter of time before things finally exploded. Then came the moment everybody started talking about. The confrontation reportedly happened directly on an ESPN set while cameras were still rolling. Producers expected the usual sports debate energy. Maybe a few jokes, some loud opinions, and the normal Shaq and Barkley-style chaos viewers were used to seeing. Instead, LeBron walked onto the set himself and addressed Shaq directly in front of everybody. The atmosphere changed immediately. Staff members backstage reportedly froze as the tension climbed higher and higher within seconds. What started as words quickly turned into a heated face-off, serious enough that security personnel allegedly had to step between both men before things got completely out of control. Was it scripted? Was it staged for ratings? Not even close. The look on Ernie Johnson's face said everything people needed to know in that moment. The longtime host, who has been leading the show since 1990, looked completely stunned as chaos started unfolding live on air. Sitting beside him were the same familiar faces fans have watched for years: Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley, and Shaquille O'Neal, a crew that had already seen just about every wild moment possible on television. This is the same group that survived Shaq and Barkley wrestling on set, crazy shouting matches, and Charles Barkley accidentally falling asleep during broadcasts. Nothing shocked them anymore until this happened. A current NBA superstar stepping directly to an analyst during a live broadcast was something nobody expected to witness. Then security suddenly moved in, producers started panicking backstage, and clips of the confrontation exploded across social media within minutes. To really understand why this moment became so intense, you have to look at the full history behind it. This was not some random argument that appeared out of nowhere overnight. The tension had reportedly been building for months, maybe even years, slowly heating up behind the scenes before finally boiling over live on television. LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal go way back. Their history stretches all the way to the early 2000s, back when LeBron first entered the NBA, carrying impossible levels of hype and pressure. At that time, Shaq was already a giant in the sport, a three-time NBA champion, and one of the most dominant centers basketball had ever seen. The two stars faced each other 19 times during NBA games, with Shaq finishing with a 12-7 record against LeBron. Back then, there was clear mutual respect between them. Shaq publicly praised LeBron's talent early in his career, while LeBron openly admired Shaq's power and dominance on the court. Fans even got excited in 2009 when Shaq joined the Cleveland Cavaliers to team up with LeBron for a championship run. People thought that pairing would finally help LeBron win his first title, but things did not go as planned. Cleveland got knocked out in the second round of the playoffs, and the partnership ended after one season. Even so, both men still appeared to stay on good terms publicly for years afterward. Then came 2025, and the entire relationship reportedly shifted. Around the league, tension between active NBA players and retired legends working in sports media had been growing louder and louder. Older stars constantly questioned the toughness and mentality of today's players, while current athletes felt they were being unfairly attacked for entertainment purposes. LeBron found himself right in the middle of that storm. The Lakers star was already dealing with nonstop attention after his public back and forth with Stephen A. Smith and his repeated comments about how basketball coverage had become too personal. LeBron made it clear he had no problem with basketball criticism itself. What bothered him was when discussions crossed the line beyond the game. He explained it directly, saying, "Never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport, criticize players about what they do on the court. That is your job to criticize or to be in a position where, okay, if a guy is not performing, that is all part of the game. That's all part of the game. But when you take it and you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players." Those comments instantly sparked debate across the sports world. That mindset reportedly pushed LeBron into direct conflict with several media personalities, especially former NBA stars who regularly criticized the modern generation, and sitting near the top of that list was Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq's media presence had become massive by this point. Between inside the NBA, interviews, podcasts, and guest appearances, his opinions reached basketball fans constantly. And one thing stayed consistent: Shaq regularly compared today's NBA to his own era and usually made it clear he believed the older generation played tougher basketball. The tension between the two did not explode immediately. Instead, it reportedly started with subtle shots and indirect comments. LeBron would hint during interviews and social media posts that some retired players turned analysts sounded bitter, jealous, or stuck in the past. Fans quickly noticed the pattern, and online debates got messy fast as people tried connecting every hidden jab and cryptic comment coming from both sides. LeBron never directly said names out loud, but everybody knew exactly who he was talking about. The message was obvious, and Shaquille O'Neal definitely caught it. So did Charles Barkley. Neither of them seemed happy about the growing shots coming from LeBron, aimed at former players turned media personalities. Then Kendrick Perkins jumped into the conversation and made things even messier. Perkins said, "I've been knowing LeBron since 1988. The problem that I have is, one, everything that comes out of LeBron James's mouth ain't the damn gospel." That comment immediately grabbed attention because Perkins was not just another random critic. He was somebody with real history around LeBron and the NBA world. Perkins kept pushing too. He argued that in today's game, these players are so sensitive that it just don't make any damn sense. Suddenly, the pressure was coming from every direction. Retired players working in media felt like LeBron was disrespecting them publicly, While many active players believe the older generation had crossed the line with non-stop criticism and personal comments, the basketball world was splitting into sides fast. Some people backed the analysts and said modern stars needed to handle criticism better. Others believe former players were constantly tearing down today's athletes for clicks, attention, and ratings. Right in the middle of all that tension sat Shaquille O'Neal, and things were about to explode around him. What made the LeBron and Shaq situation feel way more intense was the personal history involved. These were not strangers arguing online for attention. These were two men who had shared an NBA locker room together, spent time around each other's families, and built years of mutual respect. That is why fans were shocked seeing their relationship slowly fall apart in public. Now the same Shaq who once supported LeBron was openly questioning his greatness on television, while LeBron was reportedly viewing Shaq as another former player constantly throwing hate from the media side. The NBA community watched the tension grow in real time, and neither side looked interested in backing down quietly. Before the ESPN confrontation with Shaq ever happened, LeBron had already shown he was willing to directly confront media personalities face to face. That line between player and analyst had already been crossed earlier in 2025 during a Lakers game against the New York Knicks. The situation started after Stephen A. Smith criticized LeBron James during his rookie season. Smith said on First Take that Bronny belonged in the G League, and those comments quickly became a huge talking point online. LeBron reportedly reached a breaking point after hearing nonstop debate involving his family. During a courtside moment at the game, LeBron approached Stephen A. directly. Cameras caught the interaction almost immediately, and social media went completely crazy afterward. Clips spread everywhere within hours, with fans debating whether LeBron had gone too far or whether he was simply defending his family from personal criticism. Stephen A. later addressed the moment publicly. He explained, "It was a one-on-one confrontation, but then I wake up and everybody from ESPN and my agent and everybody else were sending me that this thing had gone viral. And so ultimately it was unavoidable, and that is why I have to discuss it now." The sports world stayed locked onto the story for days. At first, Smith tried keeping things respectful. He acknowledged LeBron's perspective as a father while still defending his own right to criticize basketball performance. Smith said, "That wasn't a basketball player confronting me, that was a parent." That comment briefly cooled things down, at least publicly. But later, during an appearance on Logan Paul's Impulsive podcast, Smith spoke much more openly about how upset he actually was over the situation. He stated, "It was very disrespectful. I thought it was very unfair to me. I never did what he implied that I did. That was my issue. It was clear when he rolled up on me that he thought I went after his son to get at him because I critique him." Then Smith added another line that instantly made headlines everywhere. He said, "To paint that narrative just because you don't like the fact I don't view you as the GOAT really pissed me off." That statement turned the entire situation into an even bigger public war between media personalities and players. The fallout spread all across the basketball world. Former NBA star Gilbert Arenas even jumped into the drama with a mix of humor and warning during one of his own discussions. Arenas joked, "I'm in the middle of this right now, and I gotta take my side. LeBron James, if you ever do that again with my potential boss, all hell going to break loose." He kept going with more exaggerated jokes while naming media figures he believed would support Stephen A., including Shaq and Barkley. Arenas said, "You know we got Shaq, we got a Shaq, we got a Shaq, we got a Barkley Kenny." Fans laughed at the delivery, but underneath the jokes was a serious reality. Media personalities were starting to close ranks around each other. That became a major turning point in the overall tension surrounding LeBron. By confronting Stephen A. publicly, LeBron had reportedly given critics even more reason to push back against him harder on television, podcasts, and social media discussions. LeBron later addressed the situation himself during an appearance on The Pat McAfee Show. During the interview, he criticized the way Stephen A. handled the fallout afterward and suggested the media personality was heavily leaning into the attention surrounding the confrontation. LeBron compared Smith's nonstop coverage of the drama to a Taylor Swift tour run, implying that the controversy had become a massive media event all on its own. At the same time, LeBron again made his position clear. He explained that he has no issue with basketball criticism when it stays focused on the game itself. But once comments become deeply personal or involve family members, he believes it becomes his responsibility to step in and protect the people closest to him. This whole situation with Stephen A. Smith ended up feeling like a warning sign for what was coming next. LeBron had crossed a line that most superstar athletes rarely cross publicly. He directly confronted a media personality during a live NBA broadcast, and the fallout completely took over sports headlines for weeks. After that moment, people stopped asking if it could happen again. The only questions left were when it would happen and who would be involved next. The answer turned out to be Shaquille O'Neal, one of the biggest personalities in basketball media history. A 7'1" Hall of Famer, 4-time NBA champion, and somebody with a giant voice on television and podcasts. And compared to the Stephen A. drama, this situation was shaping up to be way more intense. The 2025-26 NBA season was originally supposed to be a legendary final chapter for LeBron James with the Los Angeles Lakers. Expectations were sky high after the team landed Luka Doncic in a blockbuster trade that shocked the basketball world. Luka immediately dominated, averaging 34.7 points, 8.7 rebounds, and 8.8 assists while looking unstoppable offensively night after night. With Austin Reeves growing into a reliable third scoring option, many fans believed the Lakers were built for another championship run. But despite all the hype around the team, the season quickly became difficult for LeBron personally. For the first time in his historic career, LeBron entered a season physically limited before opening night even arrived. During summer workouts, he reportedly started dealing with sciatica that affected his lower back and the right side of his body. The pain became serious enough to sideline him through training camp and into the start of the 2025-26 season. LeBron admitted, "Never in my life since I started playing the game of basketball have I ever not started the season." That moment hit hard because durability had always been one of the biggest parts of LeBron's legacy. Through more than 2 decades, he built a reputation as one of the most dependable superstars sports had ever seen. Missing the start of a season for the very first time created massive conversations everywhere. Sports shows immediately started questioning whether LeBron's legendary run was finally slowing down. Critics flooded television panels and social media feeds with nonstop discussions about age, decline, and whether the end was approaching faster than people expected. Then LeBron returned after missing 14 games due to the injury, but fans quickly noticed he looked rusty trying to regain rhythm on the court. Every missed shot, every slower defensive possession, and every quiet scoring night suddenly became headline material. The pressure around him got even louder, and right in the middle of all those conversations sat Shaquille O'Neal, somebody who understood exactly how difficult the later stages of an NBA career can become. But instead of easing up, Shaq's comments during this period sounded especially sharp and personal to many viewers. Shaq said, "Man, I don't want to be the one to say LeBron is a complimentary player. It's just that I think LeBron knows and understands that at some point this thing comes to an end, and LeBron has always been a team guy first, so, right now he's integrated." On the surface, some people thought Shaq was simply giving honest basketball analysis. But for LeBron, hearing a former teammate describe him as a complimentary player reportedly hit completely differently. This was a player who spent over 20 years being the face of franchises, carrying teams, controlling offenses, and serving as the center of everything on the court. For most of LeBron's career, teams revolved around him. Coaches built systems around him. Players adjusted their games around him. He was not just part of the machine. He was the machine. So hearing discussions about him taking a step back or riding the bus instead of driving it reportedly became a serious source of frustration. Then the GOAT debate added even more tension between the two stars. During an interview with CBS Sports, Shaq was asked about the greatest of all time conversation. He answered by saying, "I think they should always keep it categorical. The best center, the best forward, the best guard, the best shooting guard. Can't compare a big man to a guard." While some fans viewed the comment as diplomatic, others immediately interpreted it as another subtle refusal to fully crown LeBron as basketball's GOAT. In today's NBA culture, every word around that debate gets analyzed heavily, and LeBron reportedly noticed the tone behind Shaq's comments very quickly. At the same time, reports and online rumors claimed tensions were rising even more after discussions involving NBA legends like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson. The internet started spinning nonstop narratives about old school stars versus the modern generation, and fans were choosing sides aggressively all over social media. The situation kept escalating through different platforms. Shaq continued speaking through ESPN appearances, interviews, and podcasts. Meanwhile, LeBron's responses reportedly came through interviews, social media reactions, and subtle comments aimed at how current players were being treated by media personalities. Then the playoffs arrived and the pressure exploded to another level completely. The Lakers suddenly found themselves dealing with disaster after both Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves suffered major injuries late in the season during a loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder on April 2nd. Luka reportedly suffered a grade 2 hamstring strain, while Reeves dealt with a grade 2 oblique strain. Just like that, LeBron was thrown back into the lead role all over again. That situation created even more attention because it directly challenged everything Shaq had recently been saying about LeBron no longer carrying teams at the same level. Before a crucial playoff game against Houston, Shaq publicly said, "This is a must-win for the Lakers with the Rockets' #1 guy down." Then he added, "The question is, who's going to be that guy for the Lakers?" And finally came the line that really caught attention everywhere. "We all expect LeBron to do it, but we can't forget, he's 41 years old." Every comment felt heavier than the last. To LeBron and his supporters, Shaq's words sounded like constant reminders that time was catching up, that the basketball world was preparing to move on, and that his dominance was fading. For a player who has always turned criticism into motivation, every single comment reportedly added more pressure and more frustration behind the scenes. Even at 41 years old, LeBron James was still producing at an elite level and proving he could help a team win at the highest stage. During the 2025-26 season, he averaged 20.9 points per game across 60 appearances and helped lead the Lakers to a first-round playoff victory despite all the doubts surrounding him. Every game became another response to critics questioning whether he still belonged among the NBA's top stars. On the court, LeBron kept fighting back against the noise, but the problem was the conversations never stopped. Shaquille O'Neal continued making comments during broadcasts, interviews, and podcasts, and eventually LeBron reportedly decided he was done responding quietly. Instead of answering through basketball alone, he allegedly chose to confront Shaq directly on Shaq's own stage. Live television. Once the confrontation happened, everything exploded instantly. Clips spread across social media within minutes. Sports fans flooded X, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram trying to figure out what had really happened behind the scenes. Every major sports network treated the situation like breaking news, while podcasts and debate shows argued nonstop over who crossed the line first. Then more criticism toward LeBron started piling up from media personalities around the league. Chris Broussard even ranked LeBron 6th in Lakers history, placing him behind Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal, and Jerry West. That ranking immediately triggered heated reactions online because many fans felt LeBron's accomplishments in Los Angeles deserved far more respect. To LeBron supporters, it started feeling like the basketball media world was slowly turning against him all at once. Discussions about his age, his contract value, and his place in history suddenly became louder than conversations about what he was still accomplishing on the floor. At the same time, huge uncertainty surrounded LeBron's future with the Lakers. After 8 seasons in Los Angeles, the 41-year-old was reportedly heading toward unrestricted free agency during the summer. Then came another crushing playoff moment when the Lakers were swept by the Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round. That loss hit hard because LeBron had already carried an injury-depleted roster past Houston in the first round. But against the defending champions, the Lakers simply ran out of energy and depth. Once the season ended, the criticism became brutal almost immediately. Analyst Rob Parker publicly argued that LeBron had nothing left and should retire following the playoff exit. Other media voices joined in too, each adding more pressure and more negative headlines around the future of LeBron's career. Instead of focusing on the fact that a 41-year-old superstar had still pushed a battered roster deep into the postseason, many discussions centered around what he supposedly could not do anymore. That shift in conversation reportedly frustrated LeBron and his camp heavily. For over 2 decades, LeBron had been treated as the automatic centerpiece of any franchise. Now, the narrative around the league sounded completely different. People were openly debating whether he still deserved maximum-level contracts and superstar treatment. ESPN's Dave McMenamin reported that some Lakers officials privately questioned what LeBron's value would look like without the massive impact of his global name recognition attached to it. According to league discussions referenced by Jake Fisher, there was even growing belief in some circles that LeBron might eventually need to take a minimum-style contract if his top priority was winning another championship. That kind of narrative would have sounded impossible just a few years earlier. Going from King James to hearing discussions about minimum contracts represented a massive shift in the way people talked about LeBron's place in the NBA hierarchy. And from LeBron's perspective, Shaq's comments throughout the season reportedly felt connected to that growing storyline. LeBron appeared to view many of the media discussions as part of a larger effort to slowly chip away at his legacy and reshape how fans remembered his career. Meanwhile, Shaq seemed to believe he was simply giving honest basketball opinions based on age, performance, and the realities of professional sports. And honestly, the truth probably sits somewhere in the middle. LeBron was still clearly capable of helping teams win games at a high level, but at 41 years old, conversations about aging and changing roles were naturally becoming unavoidable around the league. What made the situation even more fascinating was the amount of freedom LeBron still had over his future. More than when he left Cleveland in 2010, returned in 2014, or joined the Lakers in 2018, LeBron now controlled every possible option ahead of him. After 4 championships, endless accolades, and even sharing an NBA court with his son, he no longer had much left to prove to anybody. Still, questions about retirement kept growing louder. Even Shaq commented on it publicly, saying, "Knowing him and his team since high school, I think he will definitely set up a farewell tour, so I'm not really worried about that." That comment added even more fuel to the nonstop speculation surrounding LeBron's next move and whether the basketball world was slowly preparing for the final chapter of his legendary career. Shaq continued talking about LeBron's future and said, "But you know a guy that has accomplished everything, #1 scorer, championships, all-star appearances. I think he wants to put his record so far that nobody will ever reach it. So knowing him, he's probably going to play another 2 years. And honestly, that is where the situation became really complicated. Because even with all the tension, all the criticism, and all the public shots, Shaq still spoke about LeBron with a certain level of respect and admiration. That is what made the whole feud so confusing to fans watching from the outside. Shaq has always had that love-hate style when it comes to sports debates. One minute he is clowning somebody on live TV, and the next minute he is defending that same person against unfair criticism. That back-and-forth energy has followed him through his entire media career. There were even moments when Shaq publicly defended LeBron against other analysts. When Skip Bayless once used comments from Dwyane Wade to criticize LeBron's legacy, Shaq stepped in and shut it down quickly. He responded by saying, "We carried each other and that's it. Let it go, man." That moment showed Shaq was not always trying to disrespect LeBron the way some fans believed. So the big question never fully disappeared. Was Shaq actually trying to tear LeBron down? Or was he simply doing his job as a blunt basketball analyst while LeBron grew frustrated hearing criticism from somebody he once respected deeply? The ESPN confrontation never fully answered that question. If anything, it only made the entire situation even more complicated and emotional. What the whole incident really exposed was the growing tension inside modern sports media. Former superstars who once dominated the league are now getting paid to critique the current generation of players. And those opinions hit differently because they come from people who actually lived through the pressure, the championships, the injuries, and the expectations themselves. For players like LeBron, criticism from someone who never played professionally might feel easier to ignore. But hearing a former teammate and 4-time champion like Shaq publicly question your dominance, your role, or even your legacy carries a completely different kind of weight. LeBron himself once explained how he handles people challenging him throughout his career. He said, "I wouldn't say better, but it's all part of the journey. It's all part of the book. You have those antagonizers throughout your career. They come in all shapes and sizes, in different forms." That quote suddenly felt way more relevant once the tension with Shaq exploded into public view. Now LeBron enters another huge offseason with massive decisions ahead of him. Retirement rumors continue getting louder. Some fans dream about a return to Cleveland. Others wonder if he could join forces with Steph Curry for one final run with the Warriors. Every possibility feels bigger now because the basketball world knows LeBron's career is getting closer and closer to its final chapter. And because of everything that happened, the confrontation with Shaq may end up becoming one of the defining moments of LeBron's later years. Not necessarily because of the exact words exchanged, but because of what the moment symbolized. A legendary player refusing to let anybody decide when his time is over. That day on ESPN, security reportedly stepped in and separated two of the biggest figures basketball has ever seen. Millions watched the clips. Fans debated nonstop online. Sports media turned it into one of the biggest stories of the year. But after the camera stopped rolling and the headlines slowly faded away, one question still remained hanging over the entire NBA world. Can LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal ever truly go back to the relationship they once had? Because in basketball, rivalries and bad blood can last for years, and this one feels like it might stay alive forever. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with other NBA fans who need to see this drama unfold. Drop your thoughts in the comments too. Whose side are you on, LeBron or Shaq? Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.